The NFL draft wrapped up yesterday, and I took a day to digest all the picks and trades, and I come to you now with a concrete grade on how your team did today. It's going to be the NFC. A little bit later today, I will cover the AFC, so stay tuned for that sucker. Special thanks to our friends over at Underdog Fantasy. Thank you for sponsoring today's video. More on them a little bit later, but we're going to start with the NFC West, and I'm going to start with the Seattle Seahawks, who had the 18th overall pick, and they took Gray Zabel, guard slash center, offensive lineman out of North Dakota State. And I've been prophesying this pick since the Senior Bowl. I remember I did a mock draft with that franchise guy and Hail Mary Sports. I had the Seattle Seahawks pick, and I took Gray Zabel. This team desperately needed interior help. They got probably the best interior in this class when it comes to the offensive line. He's a perfect fit for the Clint Kubiak wide zone blocking scheme. He gives you a little bit of versatility because it didn't matter what spot he lined up at the Senior Bowl, whether it was guard or center. He dominated. He was the hottest player at the Senior Bowl. So I absolutely loved the pick. And then the Seahawks in the second round traded up. They moved up. They acquired pick 35 for their pick 52, and then they spent a third round to make that jump up. And they take safety Nick Emanuwari out of South Carolina. And it's a move I like. A lot of people projected him as a possible first rounder, and he just, it's like, it feels as if Mike McDaniel was, I want someone like Kyle Hamilton. Emanuwari, physical freak, brings a certain demeanor to the football field. I like the pick quite a bit. They still had a second round pick, which they used on Elijah Arroyo, tight end out of Miami. To you, baby, to you. Some people were a little more critical of this. This was about the range I had him in. He was 56th on my big board. He goes to pick 50. Noah Fant isn't really a long-term option. I imagine after his contract's up, he is done there. And you want to surround your new franchise quarterback, at least seemingly for the next year, Sam Darnold, with more weapons. Elijah Arroyo's a weapon. I don't mind it. I don't mind it. And then they come back at the back end of the third round, and this is the pick that they acquired from trading Geno Smith. And they draft a quarterback, Jalen Milroe. And him being taken at the back end of the third round here means that the Seahawks, they got time to develop him, and he isn't, it's not like you invested a ton in him. He's a back end of the third round pick. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. We saw the Titans. They were able to get off of Malik Willis quite easily, and the Titans, they were backdrafting a quarterback first overall in Cam Ward after taking Will Levis, moving up in the second round to go get him. So obviously minimal investment, gives him time to develop. There's really no weight on the shoulders, and you're grabbing a guy who has a good arm and is the most athletic quarterback in this class. So I don't mind that pick at all. A bit offensive heavy, which it should be. With that safety pick, I actually liked it quite a bit. Let's move to day 3 as they continue to make picks I like. In the 5th round, Riley Mills, defensive line out of Notre Dame. He just got that dog in him. He's got enough on his frame. He's 6'5", but he's only like 295. He's got enough to add more to his frame. But he gets after the quarterback, and still, I don't want to call him raw, but he still needs to develop some pass rush moves. He won a lot by playing with good leverage and playing with a lot of grit and a lot of fight. So I like the addition. Torrey Horton might be my favorite pick in this draft outside of Gray Zabel. Big body, a little slender, but he's got straight line speed. He plays with good physicality. It just screams to me, okay, yeah, we brought in MVS, but we don't want to play MVS. Torrey Horton, seemingly better MVS. If you're unfamiliar with him, he could have been a day 2 pick in the 2024 NFL draft, decided to return to Colorado, and got forgotten about because he got hurt relatively early in the season. That was a great pickup. So I'm loving their draft thus far. We do get in a little lull period as Robbie Ozit. I'm not going to be able to pronounce that name. A very big blocking tight end who seemingly you could use at fullback, but it's in the 5th round. To me, it was a little early, but again, I'm not going to go nuts over, oh, I don't like this 5th round pick. Really, you look at the premium rounds 1 through 4, that's where the most harsh grading is going to come. And then if they have any value picks on mid to late day 3, then yeah, okay, cool. But they liked the guy, they brought him in. It is what it is. You didn't invest a high draft pick. Same with Bryce Cable out of Kansas. He played tackle there. He's probably going to play guard because he's got good movement skills. I don't think it's good enough to stick on the outside. And I think he might have less than ideal length. I can't remember off the top of my head. But another dude that plays with a lot of grit. He plays with a lot of urgency. And I don't know if you know, they listed him here as a tackle. I imagine he's a guard, though. But golly, I just like helping the offensive line. And that's what they needed to do. They would go on to select Mason Richmond out of Iowa. I actually didn't get to his tape. In general, Iowa, they played a lot of outside zone blocking. It sounds like he checks a box there. I know he, for sure, has sub 33-inch arms, though, which might shoot him into the guard. But Damian Martinez in the 7th round is exquisite value. Is he really anything different than Zach Charbonnet? I think no, not really, but he's played in a variety of different blocking schemes. And honestly, he was most successful in Oregon in 2023 playing in that outside zone heavy blocking scheme, which that's what he's going to be in here. And then Ricky White was just, I was a big Ricky White fan at a UNLV. Might not have the biggest route tree, but can create after the catch, knows how to separate with good speed. That was a good pickup. At the end of the day, this was actually one of my favorite draft classes in the whole draft in general. So I went ahead and gave it an A. A+. That's right. I only handed out, I think, 4 A+. But let's keep moving. Let's keep moving through the West. This time, I'm going to go to the San Francisco 49ers because they might have more of a polarizing draft. They took Mikael Williams, 11th overall. The NFL was higher on him than probably the general draft consensus because for him, it's a lot of it's potential over production. And we were kind of robbed of that possibility at seeing can he develop? Can he produce better? Because he had a high ankle sprain. But the tools are there. You know, base level, you're getting a very good run stuffer, and you can develop him as a pass rusher next to freaking Nick Bosa. So I didn't mind the pick. Alfred Collins, I thought might slip because of medicals. I don't have any news on the medicals. It was just something reported in the build-up to the draft. But what you are getting is one of the best run stuffers in this class, up there with Talik Williams, which we'll talk about later in this video. And Alfred Collins, he was at his best as a pass rusher at the 0 or 1 tech. So you're getting a true nose tackle here who did play a little bit more with a little bit more versatility at Texas. But I think ideally you want him playing that nose tackle position role. He's still developing as a pass rusher, but he was far better at that nose tackle position as a pass rusher than anywhere else. I liked him. I was willing to take him in the top 50. I'm glad to see that maybe, I don't know, maybe the medical thing was bunk. I'm glad he didn't fall. So I'm liking the first 2 picks because you got to imagine Robert Saleh showed up in San Fran. It's my return. What the hell happened to my defensive line? So I'm glad that they addressed that. This is where things get a little hairy. And it sucks. It's a player I love in Nick Martin, linebacker at Oklahoma State. But he's doesn't have ideal height, doesn't have ideal length. Coming off an injury this year, only played in, I think, like 2 or 3 games, maybe 5 games. Can't recall off the top of my head. But plays with his hair on fire, can get after it, good blitzer. And I get it. You lost Dre Greenlaw. You want to bring in some competition for D winners. This felt high. And it sucks. It's a player I really, really like, so I couldn't give it that good of a grade. For reference, he was 136 on my big board. He goes here at 75. Upton Stout, another player that I like, plays with piss and vinegar. Probably more ideally a slot because he's like 5'9", 180. But plays the run really well, plays with a lot of good physicality. To me, it just screams slot. So maybe you're going to keep Diamador Lindor on the outside, or you're just going to have options in terms of what you can want and can do. I had him at 122 on my big board, so it's not like it was a reach or anything. You take him at 100. I think that's fine. Let's move to the 4th round where they had 2 picks. CJ West, I liked quite a bit. Some people think he's a nose tackle, and they would be wrong. They would be incorrect. That's not his game. He doesn't have ideal length. He's better served as a penetrator. So put him in that 3-tech role. You took your nose tackle in Alfred Collins. CJ West, he could come work in that rotation and kind of function like a Malik Collins would. I liked that quite a bit. I thought that was a big win. And I was like, look at this total revampment of the trenches. Jordan Watkins, this is much higher than I had him. It sucks because I like Watkins. I liked him as a late day 3 sleeper. He's to me more of a slot player at wide receiver. Feels a whole lot like Jacob Cowan, who they drafted, a year or so ago out of Arizona. Didn't like it. Sucks that it was a 4th round pick. But to keep moving through, like Jordan James, I thought was a solid pickup. He's got excellent vision, a little bit different than some of the freaks that they have there at the running back core. Obviously, you have CMC, but Isaac Guerrero, someone who necessarily didn't have the best vision, but in terms of size, speed, combination, is elite. Jordan James, I thought is a good complement to that backfield just because of how good his vision is. Marquise Sigil, but a butchered. Really good athlete. I had him more as a late day 3 player, but I ain't gonna fall to 5th round pick. If you like a guy, he adds some versatility to the secondary just by being a great athlete, especially if he ends up playing safety, because they don't have like crazy good athletes at the safety position aside from Malik Mustafa. Curtis Rourke last year, quarterback out of Indiana, played the whole season on a torn ACL. That's wild. That's gutty. I don't know. I don't think he's got much high upside as a starter in the NFL, but I think he brings good backup upside, and it's a 7th round pick. A matter of fact, this Connor Colby pick I thought was pretty solid. Gives you some versatility along the line. Someone who did play tackle at Iowa at one point. It was a bit up and down, and then they moved him into guard, and this past season was a bounce back year for him. So I think he's a good addition with the chance to make the final 53. And then Junior Bergen, wide receiver out of Montana. Didn't watch him. Didn't have him on my in my Google spreadsheet. It's pick 252. Kind of is what it is. So I love how they address this class. Defensive line. It was in shambles. We needed to address it. A lot of these guys were earlier than where I had them on my big board, especially Nick Martin, which sucks. I love Nick Martin, but they took all these cats higher than where I had them, which a little sad, bit of a letdown. But I don't disagree with the strategy. So at the end of the day, I'm gonna give it a B- because I believe in the talent. I believe in who they drafted. Maybe didn't necessarily agree with where they were drafted. But that's fine. Go out, get your players. I think a lot of these guys are going to work out. I see the vision. I'm a big fan. Let's move on to, I believe it's the Rams. We're going to talk about the Los Angeles Rams. Not a lot to talk about here, boys and girls. They traded out of the 1st round. The Atlanta Falcons moved up, and the Falcons acquired pick 26, which was the Rams. The Rams got pick 46 along with the 1st rounder next year. They did also lose pick 101. The Rams did in that trade, but they moved back. You get a 1st rounder next year. I'm okay with it. Now you have some draft capital if Matthew Stafford, if you want to look for that heir apparent next season. Terrence Ferguson, this was earlier than I'd take him. I had like a firm 3rd round grade on him. I know a lot of people loved him. I thought his hands could be inconsistent, but he comes up in big moments and big times, and I just don't think he can play inline consistently. He was constantly, if they wanted to get him a free release, they put him on the move. If they wanted to get him off the line as a receiver. They had to put him on the move. They schemed up some stuff for him. But he is a fun player after the catch. He's a good player. I just think it was like, okay, it's fine. And to me, like, I felt that the Rams, I guess maybe they moved down because they wanted Jaxson Dart. I don't know. Who knows? For me, I was like, man, if they could some way get Colston Loveland, they were going to never be able to get Colston Loveland. He ends up going at pick 10. But regardless, they get Terrence Ferguson. To me, it was like, that made sense. They go with Josiah Stewart with the pick 90. And yeah, that's fun. They add some pass rush, some edge depth there with Byron Young and Jared Verse. They play a lot of 5-man fronts. So yeah, that made sense to me. That's fine. That's a good player. And then we get to the 4th round. And I believe, no, they didn't trade up for Jarquez Hunter. They traded up for Ty Hamilton. So Jarquez Hunter was a bit of a curious pick. This is about the range for him. I like him. But, I mean, you already have, they brought back Ronnie Rivers. They drafted Blake Corum a year ago. You have Kyron Williams. So, I didn't think it was all that necessary. And then they moved up for Ty Hamilton in the 5th. And they actually ended up costing them they gave up a 6th. So to move up this, it was a bit of a significant trade. And then they gave a 2026 4th. I don't love that. I think that was kind of like meh. And they got Ty Hamilton, who was closer to my top 200, closer to the 200 portion. And they trade up and get him at 148. Like, he's going to be a good player. I don't know why we're really enforcing the defensive line like this. I'm kind of confused. Why did we go out and get a corner at some point or some secondary help? Guess it is what it is at this point. Chris Paul Jr. was exceptional value at 172. I love that pick. He might not have ideal length or height, but sideline to sideline speed, gets after it, comes up as a big blitzer as well. I like the pick. And honestly, I like the fit of Katana Mumfield out of Pittsburgh. He's not the fastest guy, but he is a very technically sound route runner, a very nuanced route runner, which is kind of, it's par for the course when it comes to Sean McVay and what he likes at wide receiver. So at the end of the day, I don't mind this draft class. After they traded out of the 1st round, it kind of felt like, yeah, this is going to be an okay draft class, but I don't think it's not going to be anything that knocks your socks off. I liked, not loved it. I'm going to go with a B- for the Rams. I feel like that's fair. I do like them acquiring a 1st rounder next year, though. I think that's huge. And then we're going to talk about the Arizona Cardinals. I liked this draft quite a bit. Some people don't like Walter Nolan. I like Walter Nolan. I think there's a lot of upside there. At pick 16, he was the 12th best player on my board. He was the 12th best player on my board. I feel like I need to say that 3 more times. He's good. He's a former 5-star. Sky is the limit with him. Yeah, does he end up on the ground a little bit more times than you like? Sure. But he took a step from potential to production last year. So I like that addition, more of a long-term addition there along the interior, but I think can make an immediate impact. Will Johnson's extraordinary value. Apparently there might be a chronic knee issue there with him, which led to him falling out of the 1st. Coming into the year, he was a top 5 player. And even then, I had him as the 11th best player on my board. And granted, I would move him down a little bit after the news broke about the knee. But if you're in the 2nd round, you at least know the type of player you're getting. And he's going to be a good fit for Jonathan Gannon. I loved the pick. So to me, they're hitting home runs here. Jordan Birch, low-key, the defensive lineman out of Oregon. is a really good fit here. He gives them size at edge and just a versatile body type. This was about the range I had him in. He was 77th on my big board. Yeah, he was 77th on my big board. So yeah, I liked the pick. I like the value. It's right in line. To me, that was solid B grade. Cody Simon, maybe a little early for him, but I get it. You're getting a guy that's a jack of all trades. Someone who early in his career ended up being a starter for Ohio State, got hurt, and then had to work his way back in the lineup. Took him the better part of a year and a half to become a starter once again. And I mean, this year he was so freaking good. You get to pair him up there with Mac Wilson, who actually made the pick, read the pick off. That was kind of wild. So I like that. I like that depth. Was it a little high? Sure, but I ain't mad about it. Denzel Burke is a good roll of the dice. Formerly was someone that once upon a time was talked about as a potential first round pick and then a day 2 pick. And here we are in the 5th. He's still got some skills to him, man. He does. I do like him better in a press scheme, but hey, we'll see how it works. Hayden Connor, it's kind of fine. I think he was like 298 on my board. You get him at 211. It's okay. We're picking in the 200s at this point. I'm not mad about it. Let's talk about Kidden Crawford, dude. I love the value there because he's making the roster just because he's a special teams ace. He had over 1,000 snaps in college when it came to special teams. He's a former Texas player who couldn't really become a starter there and eventually transferred in his final year to Nevada where he was a starter. Tested out extremely well. I like the pick there. I like the pick. I like the process for the Cardinals, and I'm going to go ahead and give this sucker an A. I think it was a really, really good draft by the Cardinals. Okay, I guess we're moving on to the NFC. Let's do the South. We're going to start from the bottom again, and we're going to go with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because I had a bit of a hot take for night 1. And it didn't have anything to do with Emeka Egbuka, the player, but the process. So they drafted Emeka Egbuka at 19, wide receiver at Ohio State. And I was like, this team needs defense. What were they let down by last year? Todd Bowles and his defense. And you're going wide receiver after a year ago. You extended Mike Evans. Just this past off season, you extended. You were able to get back Chris Godwin at a fair price. You saw good things from Jalen McMillan. You're grabbing Emeka Egbuka to be basically split time as a wide receiver 3. And some people were like, well, Chris Godwin, he's still coming back from the injury, and Mike Evans is old. It's like, okay, cool. You could still make a pick for the future that could also impact the now and help increase your chances at making the big game. So I liked the player. Just for me, the process was kind of, I'd rather go with the defense here, but it's a good player. I think I gave it a C that night because, again, those were initial reactions when I did my draft grades. I think I'd probably float with a B because I still look at it as like, man, there were some good pass rushers. Jihaad Campbell was still there. I guess there was some real concern with the shoulder. Nonetheless, let's move on to day 2. They double dip at corner. They go Benjamin Morrison, corner at Notre Dame, and then Jacob Parrish, corner at K-State. Sounds like Tyke Smith is going to play more of a traditional safety role. Jacob Parrish, a guy that can work inside and out. I love his little stout build, but he's so feisty. Benjamin Morrison. I mean, this team dipped into a lot of zone last year. Morrison, I think could go either or. He could play man. He can play zone. Because, I mean, remember, Todd Bowles, he's got a lot of exotic blitzes. So we're going to see a good, healthy amount of man coverage as well. Benjamin Morrison only falls down the board. To me, is a first-round pick, but only falls down the board because the 2 hip injuries. The one last year and the other in high school. It's a lot of hip injuries for a young corner. And, man, if you saw him get the call, and how, golly, how grateful he was. That it just warmed your heart. Just, oh golly, just sitting there. Thank you for believing in me, because it's like, dude, this is such a good player. Hips be darned, dude. Hips be darned. Golly. But I like their process. I get it with Jabil Dean. He's either good or hurt. And unfortunately, more recently, it's been hurt. They might try to get off his contract, so you're going to be looking for that heir apparent next to Zion McCollum. So I like it. I like it. I'm still sitting here. I'm like, oh, okay, when are they going to get pass rush? Because Hassan Reddick's only there for a year. I guess you're still developing Chris Broswell. And obviously, you got Yaya. But then they go David Walker early on. I get it. He's 25. He is a really good DPR. Like, if you don't know what that means, designated pass rush only. That's what he does and what he does well. He got after it at the Senior Bowl. I had him much higher on my board. They get him here. That's really good value. Let's take a look. And they only had 6 picks in this draft. And they get Elijah Roberts, which I thought was really good value. I had him at 111 on my board. They get him at 157. This kind of feels like, okay, Logan Hall, we might be trying to find someone to replace your role. Then they grab Tez Johnson at 235, which, okay, he didn't test out that well. He's very undersized, but golly, you watch him at Oregon, but you watch him in the Senior Bowl. Just consistently created separation. I had him at 139 on my big board. He goes at 239. This is the thing. The Bucks drafted exceptionally well, and a lot of players that I like. I could argue with the process in round 1. They do come back. They do get some edge help. And there's not one pick I dislike here. So I'm going to give it an A. Okay, I might be scratching my head a little bit with Emeka Egbuka. And again, yeah, sure, you could try to talk yourself into it. But I think that would have been still better served with the defense. Again, a defense that let this team down last year. No arguing. Really good player. That's all they did. Draft really good players. So I'm not mad at it. Let's jump to the New Orleans Saints, who took Kelvin Banks Jr., offensive tackle, out of Texas in the first round. That was the right selection. They grabbed some offensive help along the trenches. Could be the heir apparent to Trevor Pennon. Maybe you start Banks at guard right off the bat. We'll find out. Great pick. Tyler Shuck. So this might be the one pick where I'm like, oh, this was much higher than where I had Shuck. To be fair, I had guys like Jalen Milroe, Quinn Ewers, who went way late, and obviously Tyler Shuck and Will Howard. They were all they were all within the span of 10 picks or 10 spots on my big board, because I was just like, I don't really have a great feeling of maybe who's better than who. I'm just going to stack them all in the same spot. So Shuck, this was a little bit higher than where I had him on my board. I understand, but I can wrap my head around this pick. Hear me out. He's older. You can legit throw him out there right now. And worst case scenario, you suck. You have a top 5 pick. You grab Doug's boy, Garrett Nussmeier, in next year's draft class. And you didn't trade up for Tyler Shuck. You sat back at pick 40. You let the draft come to you, and you took him there. So I'm not really offended with this pick, and you're swinging it at the most vital position on an NFL roster, quarterback. Vernon Brown, this was a little early for me, but I like the tools with him. Became a first-time starter, or a full-year starter for the first time this year, but Texas has been pumping out insane defensive line talent. He got stuck in the rotation last couple of years, so I'm fine with the pick. Jonas Sanker. The only really nitpick I have with Sanker, it's not even about him. I think he's one of the best box safeties in this class. You pay Justin Reed. I mean, the value's there. They picked him at 93. I had him at 96, so it's good value. I love the Danny Stutzman pick. I love the Danny Stutzman pick. He might not have a lot of splash plays and coverage, but he's always around the ball carrier. You get him at 112. He was at 69 on my big board. Nice. Quincy Riley was another cat that I was pretty high on. They grabbed him at 131. I had him at 118. I love the competitiveness, the feistiness to him. In the 6th round, Devin Neal, my boy. I've been covering Devin Neal for the better part of 2.5 years. Talking about how much I just love this dude's tape. And he might not be the best athlete, but I think he comes in there with literally no risk. You get him at 184. I had him at 113 on my big board. So you get really good value for just a good football player. Maliki, tight end out of UCLA. Come in here. I guess they had to get a tight end. I don't mind it. It's 248. Fadil Diggs, much higher on my board. I had him at 166. They get him at 254. He legitimately is a DPR. Come on the field, pin your ears back, and get after the quarterback. So there was a lot to like here. The question comes down to, like, things got a little hairy with Tyler Shuck and Vernon Broughton taken higher than they than where I had them. But I'm not offended by this draft, and there's a lot of players I like. So I'm gonna go with a B grade. I feel like that's pretty fair. Moving on to the Carolina Panthers, who in the 1st round selected Tetaroa McMillan, wide receiver out of Arizona. I would have liked if they got a guy with a bit better speed, but I'm not going to argue with this pick because Tet was a top 5 prospect for me in this class. You get him at 8. I mean, some people will be like, well, Xavier Legette, he ran a 4.39. He's got speed. Well, I'm talking about more quicks on the short to intermediate. A little bit something more in the quick game. With Legette, you're getting more of a long strider. And let me just say his name one more time. Legette. Freaking love Xavier Legette. But I don't mind. Help Bryce Young. Help your franchise quarterback. Make sure he doesn't look like he did at the beginning of the year. Then they grabbed Nick Gordon. They had a big pick swap with I think it was the Denver Broncos, where they were pick swapping seconds, thirds, and 4th round picks. So to me, I look at it and it was like, okay, this is for the most part a pretty fair trade. They're just swapping same round picks. And it's not like it was like massive trade backs either. So ton of pick swaps there. And they get Nick Gordon, who I had at 36 on my big board. They get him at 51. They need edge desperately. I love it. I mean, they need edge so desperately that they double dipped. They actually had to move up to get pick 77 because they had pick 85. And it only cost them a 5th rounder. And they get Princely Umami out of Ole Miss. I had him at 49 on my big board. They get him at 77. They're hitting this draft out of the park. Some people will question the Trevor Etienne selection. I don't. Yeah, they got Chuba Hubbard. They brought in Rico Dotto. Jonathan Brooks is getting healthy. That was a run back they traded up for, but he's coming off a 2nd consecutive ACL injury. But Etienne is lightning in a bottle. He's not going to be someone that is going to get a ton of touches. He could do different things for you, whether it's as a pass catcher or maybe in the return game. You're kind of hoping maybe a better Blackshear. That's what I'm kind of thinking. So I don't mind them going in on the running back class. They did address safety with Lathan Ransom, as long as he's not made of glass anymore, a guy with an extensive injury history. Went on the field as a starter. He is exceptionally good. He knows how to use his hands discreetly and be sticky in man coverage. But he also plays with a nasty demeanor. He can be a hard hitter. So I like the pickup there of Ransom. Cam Jackson, we're in the 5th. This might be rich for my taste, but there's not many true nose tackles in the draft year after year. There were quite a few in this class, but a lot of them were off the board. So I get going after a guy like Cam Jackson. I understand it. Mitchell Evans, you get to not necessarily reunite, but now you got former Notre Dame alums playing that tight end position. Mitchell Evans, more of a traditional tight end compared to Tommy Tremble, who I think is just more versatile and a better athlete. But I don't mind the Evans pick. I think, where did I have him? Okay, I had him about a little further down, but not much. Jimmy Horn Jr., this was exactly about the range I had him. 206, he goes at 208. I was talking about how I would like to see them get a speedy wide receiver in the quick game. Jimmy Horn can be that, but also a vertical speedster from the slot. I think I loved everything they did. Even with Cam Jackson, the pick I didn't like, I understood it was a 5th round pick. Cool. This is one of my A+ grades. I think the Panthers knocked it out of the water. I hope I didn't call them the Jags, because I have a tendency of confusing my kitty teams. I'm sorry. But Panthers had a banger draft. There is one more team in this division, and they are a bit more controversial in terms of what they did. And it has not. And some people will think I'm referring to James Pearce being controversial. No, I'm a little cross about trading away a 1st round pick next year. But let's talk about what they did first. Jalen Walker, for much of the draft community, people had him tabbed as a top 10 player in this class. I was on the lower end of that. I think he was 18 on my big board. He ends up going here at 15. He makes it to him. A lot of people didn't think he would be available. And this is kind of cool because Kaden Ellis is in the final year of his deal, I believe. And if you want to use Walker, if that's your idea, to use him as a chess piece after Ellis, I don't think that's crazy. Or you could just develop him to be a full-time pass rusher. It's one of two things. But with them moving up and getting James Pearce, which, by the way, the trade is the big reason I had some hesitancy with this, because they're moving from 46 to 26, right? And it costs them a lot. It costs them a 1st rounder next year. I mean, if we want to go specifically in, okay, if we're specifically talking about the trade value, essentially the Rams were like, here, take our 1st this year, we'll take your 1st next year. But the Falcons turned pick 46 into pick, like, what, 100, 101? Dog water. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Not a fan. Just not a fan. But I get going up and getting a guy who seemingly would be a top 10 player if teams weren't worried about him being a big douche. That's kind of the thing. But they went out and addressed the pass rush. Golly gee. I'm glad that they did it. I like the players involved. A little on the fritz about the trade, but we got to the 3rd round and they ended up having to move up from 101 to 96. It only cost them a 5th. It's fine. I think it's Xavier Watts, who is arguably a top 50 player, at least for me, to pair him up with Jesse Bates. And now I look in hindsight, it's like, well, you know what? Screw that 1st rounder. We just renovated this defense. I'm happy. They grabbed Billy Bowman early in the 4th. Another safety. They probably maybe view him more as a slot, which I'm a little scared about. He's got some deficiencies in the run game. Those slot corners are going to be asked to do a lot more when it comes to the run game. So I don't know if I love that, but I like the player quite a bit. Jack Nelson was really good value at 218. I think I've had him just inside my top 200. So they grab a developmental tackle maybe for the future for Jake Matthews. So at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, sure, I hate that trade, but these first 3 picks are so quality. I think just because of the trade, it's hard to give it an A because, again, it sucks giving up a future first rounder. A lot of this weighs on how James Pearce ends up being. Does he end up being the player a lot of people think he can be? Hopefully. So as it stands right now, I'm going to give him a B+. I feel like that is a fair grade for the Atlanta Falcons. Let's move on to the NFC North, because this might be the most controversial division, because they had some things happen. They just had some things happen. Let's talk about the Minnesota Vikings first. They didn't they did trade out of pick 24. They wanted Donovan Jackson. They sat back and was like, no, we want our player. The Houston Texans apparently wanted Donovan Jackson as well. The minute the Vikings took him, the Texans traded back. But to be fair, also the Giants, we knew the Giants were kind of lurking, trying to move up to go and get Jaxson Dart. So who's to say that the Texans wouldn't make that trade anyway? Because the Giants did overpay a little bit, but then again, you kind of had to when everyone knows it's a quarterback, so the price tag is going to be a little bit heavier. But also with Atlanta sitting there and wanting to move back into the first, it just makes me wonder what offers were available there at 24. But they really like Donovan Jackson. I think he's going to be a really good guard. Injury happens at tackle, he can kick out to tackle. We saw him play really strong down the stretch there in the college football playoffs for Ohio State. So I like the player. I really would have wished to trade back, but then they really started to trade. So they traded 97 and a 6th rounder and acquired 102 and a 5th. So they turned a 6th into a 5th. They moved back and they get Ty Felton. Which, should we be worried about Jordan Addison? Is that a thing, or is this more of a competition at wide receiver 3 and 4? I like Felton a lot. This was a bit high for me, though. He's got really good speed, long frame that he needs to fill out a little bit more, but he's got some make you miss after the catch ability. So I like the player. I thought it was a little rich, a little high. We move to the 5th round, and they get Tyron Ingram Dawkins, edge / interior. He's a defensive lineman out of Georgia. Did they have to trade with that one? I don't think so. Again, they did a few trades here. Like they traded their 5th for 2 6th. Or they traded 172 for 201 and 202, which became Kobe Keene and Gavin Bartholomew. They also used a 5th to acquire, because I want to take into account some of the trades that they made in the offseason. Like they acquired Jordan Mason essentially for a 5th. I think that's a good pickup. Gives you a reason not to go running back in this class. They also acquired Sam Howell, but it was just a pick swap of 5th round picks for a backup quarterback. That's fine. But I really like the Ingram Dawkins play, because you get him on the team and you just find out, wait, what specifically is your role going to be here? Because we know you're already a really good athlete, a really good run stuffer who was trusted to play or wear a lot of hats there at Georgia. So I'm kind of okay with that. Kobe Keene, he's a hard-hitting linebacker, kind of is what it is. Gavin Bartholomew, I get it. I get taking him from a athletic upside, but his tape was really hit or miss. But I'm talking about guys that they picked at 201 and 202, so I'm not too mad at it. I do wish they did more, did more with trades. I wish they addressed the corner position. I wish they didn't take Felton higher than where I had him. I wish they maybe did trade out at 24. And if you do miss out on Donovan Jackson, it kind of is what it is. I know some people were like, well, that's the player that they wanted. It's great value. It's like, well, get in an extra 3rd along with an extra 3rd this year, along with as well as a 3rd next year. presents to me maybe more value because you get more shots at the NFL draft. So at the end of the day, they had some fine players, but again, largely I didn't like the process. I love Donovan Jackson. I think that's really the only immediate player they got that could make an impact on this Super Bowl roster. And even saying maybe they got players for the future, I got some reservations about that. I love Ty Felton. I really like Tyron Ingram Dawkins, but that's about it. Like, yeah, I can't give this too high of a grade. I'm going to go with the C. Just going to go with the C. Vikings fans, rip me a new one. I have a feeling the NFC North is going to do that to me. All right, where are we going? We're going to the Green Bay Packers. Let's go to the Packers. I love the Matthew Golden pick in the first round. Finally, it was their first time drafting a wide receiver in like 20 years. Good on you, Packers fans. I thought that was their best pick of the draft. And that's not to say I didn't like their next few picks. I like Anthony Belton. Could be tackle. They list him here as a potential guard. To me, it doesn't make sense. I think they should have been going for a tackle. And Belton's got tackle size. So I think he might be the tackle of the future, as you have Zach Tom and Rasheed Walker up on contract next year. So I like the Belton pick, even if it was a little higher than where I had him. Savion Williams, you double dip at wide receiver. You're taking a shot on a guy who largely wasn't uberly productive as a wide receiver in college. I get it. He's big. He runs fast. But, I mean, I guess, hey, with Watson out, we need a guy that can fill that role. And I think Williams probably could do that. But I did love the Williams pick. I just didn't. Moving to the fourth round, Baron Sorrell. It was so cool to see that he was at the draft and that he gets drafted by the Packers. That's phenomenal. I think he works in as maybe an early down run stuffer, maybe pass blocker. Did I say pass blocker? Pass rusher. He does a lot of things well. He comes off the board here at 124. I had him at 147, so it's not like an insane jump. I'm okay with that. And then we get to their mid to late day 3 picks. Colin Oliver, he's a tweener, so it was hard for me to be in on him, but they went after guys that could rush the passer. Cool, I guess. Warren Brinson is a very fine defensive lineman for Georgia. I had him in the 6th, 7th round range. He goes in the 6th round. Cool. I didn't watch Micah Robinson, corner out Tulane. Watched Caleb Bransaw. Didn't watch Robinson, but this is pick 237. Speaking of which, I didn't watch John Williams because I largely heard he was probably projected as being a free agent, UDFA. And that his tape is very, very up and very down. It's very dicey. So I ended up deciding, okay, I gotta cut the list on guys that I can watch because I'm running out of time. Williams made that cut, but he ends up being drafted, and good for him. Man, like, I like aspects of this draft. I just don't love it. I'm just not in love with it, and I'm gonna give it a B-. The Matthew Golden pick is goated. Anthony Belton I like. I can understand Williams. Sorrell I think is solid. And then for me, Colin Oliver, it's a bit too much for me. So yeah, I'm going to stick with a B-. Oh gosh, let's talk about the Detroit Lions. Because I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I get it. Brad Holmes has been money. And I mean freaking money when it comes to the draft. He has made many of us eat crow based on his process, his hit success. And this is the thing. I like the players that he drafted. I like it. Maybe aside from Isaac Tesla, which I get why it goes that high. It's still high for me. I'd rather have taken that shot on day 3, but like who you like. Because aside from that, I love all of their picks. Talik Williams might not be a sexy pick, but high floor player. You got DJ Reader on the final year of his deal. You have Levi Wazarike here on a 1-year deal. Aleem McNeil is going to miss the early part of the first half of the season as he recovers. Williams makes sense not just right now, but also down the line. And maybe being on a line with Aleem McNeil, Aiden Hutchinson, you can tap into that pass rush potential. It's just not there yet. All in all, Ohio State doesn't do a great job of developing their interior pass rushers. They just don't. High ceiling, best run defender. I'm okay. I like the Talik Williams pick. I think it is solid. I love the Tate Ratledge pick. You want to talk about solid? This is a guy that is very sound, better athlete than I thought. Like, I knew he was a good athlete, tested out as an elite athlete. Solid play strength, was a consistent part of that Georgia offensive line. I just didn't love the trade that they moved up 3 spots and it resulted in their 4th rounder becoming a 7th rounder. And it was a pick change of 100 picks from that 4th to that 7th rounder. I don't like that. So I was like, you know what? Okay, you paid a little extra to go get a guy that solidifies your line. I'm okay with it. If that was the one trade that was like, okay, I don't like the value of that trade, but you go get your guy. That's fine. I'd be okay with it. Everything about this Tesla trade is terrible. It was, I think, the worst trade in the draft. They acquired pick 70 and 2 6th-round picks, and they had to move up. This is with them moving up 32 spots, I think, because they traded pick 102. And it cost them 2/3 next year? Bruh. What does our trade draft chart look like? That is so outrageous to me. That is so outrageous. Like, you were paying the price tag of what the Giants paid to get back into the 1st round. You might be like, well, it wasn't that big of a pick difference. They were moving back into the 1st round, a far more valuable round for a quarterback. Everyone and their mom knew it. And you essentially paid the same price tag? I don't like it. I don't like it. To me, that's objectively bad. And I get, I'm not the highest dude on Tesla. There's not a lot of production. You're kind of banking on him being a better pro than college player. And I get it. It's easy to look at him and be like, oh, he's so big and long and fast. And I guess the report is, okay, we're going to really teach this guy how to play on the outside. Cool. Still high for me. Still high for me. So I didn't love that. And I was like, okay, that. And I'm going to be fair. That's two, in my opinion, bad trades. And traded up for a player that I didn't love. That kind of sank their draft class for me. And that's not even fair to say. That sunk their draft grade for me. Because I still like their class. Again, love Tate Ratledge. Really like Talik Williams. Miles Frazier. Huge steal. I had him at 82 on my big board. They get him at 171. Awesome. I love that. Ahmed Hassan sign. He's a Dan Campbell player. The minute you got this dude on the phone, I will die for this team. Dan Campbell, hell yeah. Come get your race car helmet. There you go. You got a very gritty edge. Keep in mind, he started playing football late in his career. He's originally from Egypt. Dan Jackson at 230, fine value. Another guy that plays with piss and vinegar, flies around, and was a walk-on at Georgia and never got a scholarship. It's the type of players you want on the team. Dominic Lovett, solid, consistent security blanket there for Carson Beck when he was among an offense that did nothing but drop the ball for him. Okay, cool. Like, again, I like the players in this draft class. Just the trade sucked and Tesla felt really high. Despite all that, I'm going to give it a C+. And I could see Vikings fans already flipping their crap. I'm sorry, Vikings fans. The Lions got more players that I like than you did. It's basically how it goes. I may have hated their trades, but it is what it is. Lions fans, they're going to clap back in the comment section. I don't know, like, if you're a Lions fan and you liked those trades, not because of the players you got, but tell me, in all honesty, how does that value work out? And I get it when it comes to two trades. Teams from year to year will have different value when it comes to draft picks and just trade value in general. It doesn't only vary from year to year, but from team to team. Teams are doing their own analytics on what should be the necessary compensation for some of these picks and players. So we're just living in a world where we're trying to make sense of it. So I don't know. I think just Detroit may have valued their future picks not enough. But I'm done talking about the Lions. Lions are still going to be good. I ain't mad at it. They've drafted players I like. I'm really not mad at it. So, like, hey, screw what this guy says, right? Let's talk about the Chicago Bears, the final team of the division here. They grabbed Colson Loveland at pick 10. He's the first tight end off the board. I've talked about tight end potentially going here. Colson Loveland actually does make more sense than Tyler Warren. If you're going to play more 12 personnel, you're kind of getting a Sam Laporta type. Colson Loveland, I can't really think you could argue that he's got a higher ceiling as a receiver than Tyler Warren. So it's not that shocking. I heard quite a few people had Loveland ahead of Warren. So it didn't shock me all that much. I'm okay with the pick at 10. Oh, I had to get some of that coffee, baby. When it comes to pick 39, first pick in the second round, home run, Luther Burden. If this was 2023 Luther Burden, we'd be talking about him as a top 10, top 15 pick. It was kind of weird this year. I still think that 2023 version is there. The Bears getting him at 39, home run, exceptional value. Ozzy Trapillo at pick 56. If you didn't know, they actually traded back. They acquired pick 56, pick 62, because this is a trade with the Bills, and a fourth for their pick 41, their third round pick, which was 72, right? I think it was like 72. May have been 71, but also a third. So they turned a seventh into a fourth, and they turned 72 into 62, moving back 15 spots. So it's a good trade. I think it works for all parties. They move back. They get Trapillo. Could be their tackle of the future. He might battle it out there with Kieran Amagaji. You're just kind of hoping one of those guys enables you not to pay Braxton Jones. That's how I see it. And then I think they let Dennis Allen take control of the draft because I didn't love their next few picks. So they get Shamar Turner at pick 62, and I get it. Other analysts, other draft minds liked Shamar Turner much more than I did. I get it. I can recognize it. Maybe I'm just wrong about the player. He was a tough eval this year, considering he played through a stress fracture in his foot. But even then, coming into the year, I viewed him as like a third, fourth round player. I'm just not the biggest Turner fan. So to me, Turner felt like a reach, but I can understand people that liked him are okay with him here. Also, from Dennis Allen's alma mater, Texas A&M. So there you go. Let's talk about the 4th round pick, because I like what they did here when it came to the trade. So, if you remember, they traded back. The Bills moved up and gave them an extra 2nd rounder, or at least turned that 3rd into a 2nd rounder. So, the Bills come a knocking for pick 109. This was the pick the Bills traded to the Bears. And now the Bills are back like, hey, we want that pick back. So the Bears are able to pick up an extra, what was it, a 5th? They picked up a, oh, no. So they moved back. Yeah, it was, okay, they picked up a 5th. So they moved back about 23 spots and they pick up an extra 5th. So I just love that. The Bills, they wanted to move up in the day 2. There you are, Bears. You trade with them, and now they're here back in the 4th round. Like, hey, we want that pick back. I thought it was funny. The Bears grab Ruben Hypolite, I believe is how you say it, out of Maryland, linebacker. Didn't watch his film. I saw that he tested out like a freak, though. I've heard some good things about him. I think I gave him a priority free agent grade since he does look very athletically gifted, and I just didn't write a full eval for him. So does this feel like a reach? A little bit, but I get that you're kind of rolling the dice on a very athletic player. So, okay, cool. I mean, if anything, I'm still laughing about the Bills trade. Then we go to Za Frazier, corner out of UTSA. I think that's a nice option to develop. He's got good length and good speed. I believe, was this the pick they traded back? No. Oh, it's this next one. So Luke Newman. So originally the Bears had pick 148. And then they moved back to pick 195, but they get a 4th rounder next year. So I think they're doing a good job of acquiring some of these picks and being able to get extra draft capital. They get Luke Newman, offensive tackle out of Michigan State, formerly of James Madison, I believe. Or was it Holy Cross? I think it was Holy Cross. I can't recall. I didn't watch enough on Newman. I saw him in passing, really, when watching the Michigan State running backs, excuse me. But again, Newman, I didn't write down an eval for. You're taking a shot at a guy at 195. I ain't mad. Kyle Monunga is freaking phenomenal value. And people were wondering, when are the Bears going to take their running back? And I remember that I did a 7-round mock for the NFC North. And I ended up not taking a running back until late. And Bears fans hated it. Your Bears did the same thing. They took a very violent running back in Kyle Monunga out of Rutgers to pair up there with DeAndre Swift, excuse me. So I think this is a good move. Overall, it's a solid draft. Things got a little dicey, a little hairy here with Shamar Turner and our boy Ruben. But I'm going to give it a solid B. I think that's fair, and I think that actually means the Bears had the highest grade in the NFC North when it came to these draft classes. Good on you, Bears. Honestly, I do like the draft. It was a good first draft for Ben Johnson, even if things got a little bit hairy here and there. But now we have finally got into the NFC East. Let's talk about the Commanders. Because there's a lot of nuance when it comes to what they did, right? Because we got to bring up the fact that they don't have a 3rd rounder this year because of Laramie Tunsil. They acquired one of the best pass blocking tackles in the game. That also cost them a 2nd rounder next year. They didn't have a 5th rounder this season because of acquiring Deebo Samuel. I think that's worth the 1-year flyer on trying to push for that NFC Championship game once again and push for that Super Bowl. Get in there. So I thought those were moves worthwhile, even if you had to expend draft capital. And all in all, I thought they did good in the draft itself. Josh Connolly Jr. doesn't have to start right away. He legitimately doesn't. You could develop him. And I assume it's going to be at right tackle. So you don't have to rush him out there right away. The last time we saw him at right tackle, Mike Green was putting him on his back. Doesn't mean Connolly's a bad player. He has a lot of good tape at left tackle at Oregon. So just someone you might want to develop. Trey Amos was an absolute steal at pick 61. I had him at 37 on my big board, and they just sat back and waited for it to come to them. That's a phenomenal job here by the Commanders to get a legit outside corner. Now they don't have a pick until the 4th, but it's Jalen Lane. This team lost De'Ami Brown, their vertical speed threat. They just replaced him with another vertical speed threat, 4.34 speed. He does have some nasty drops on tape, but that's something you can work on with him. I like taking the shot on Lane. And then then they end up getting Kane Medrano out of UCLA linebacker at 205. I think he tested out as one of the fastest linebacker. He was at least the fastest linebacker at the combine. And you see it. I believe he's also a former wide receiver, similar to Carson Schwessinger. But Medrano, I think it's worth taking the shot on. If he ends up just being a sub package guy, that's a-okay. I love that they were able to snag a running back and one I was high on at pick 245. Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt out of Arizona. It sucks that he fell. I had him at 131 on my board, but you get why he falls. He didn't play this season. Would have been his first taste of Power 4 competition. That sucks, but he ends up being the practice player of the week at the Shrine, the Shrine Bowl game MVP. He had a big offseason draft process, tested well. This is someone that might get mixed up in the rotation sooner rather than later. So I like what they did with this draft. I'm going to go ahead and give it a A. It's a good class here by the Washington Commanders. Good class. Okay, let's head to Philly because, man, I have heard a lot of different things from Philadelphia Eagles fans on how they feel about this draft class. And I guess at the end of the day, I think they drafted a lot of players I liked. Jihaad Campbell, they move up one spot, trade a 5th to move up one spot with Kansas City to go and get Jihaad Campbell. He falls because it sounds like there might be some sketchy medicals when it comes to, I don't know if it's specifically the labrum tear or just the shoulder in general, but I think you're getting better Nakobe Dean. You're getting longer, faster Nakobe Dean, who also had the shoulder injuries. But Jihaad Campbell is someone you could use in a versatile manner. He can be a pass rusher. He can be a blitzer. So I'm cool. I'm cool with the pick. I like the pick. Andrew Mukuba. I love the player. I had 2 better safeties on the board, in my opinion. Kevin Winston out of Penn State and Xavier Watts out of Notre Dame. And that's not to throw shade at Andrew Mukuba. I freaking love Mukuba, but he is undersized. He plays a very punishing style that's going to make you concerned. Can he handle the physicality of the NFL? So there's going to be some durability question marks there. But he ended up showing off ball skills this year. I wanted to see more splash plays and coverage, and he was like, don't worry, I got you covered. He does feel a bit more like Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. I'm here thinking, I was like, oh, isn't this more of the Reed Blankenship role? And then I thought about just Mukuba's game, and I was like, no, he's definitely more Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. So I like the player. There were just other guys higher on the board for me. It is what it is, though. I like the player. I'm not going to bump the grade down that much. They have a pick in the 4th here because they just kept trading down. Like, I'm not going to go over all their trade downs. They traded down a ton. And I thought, okay, well, they're going to just acquire more capital for next year so they can maneuver the draft how they want. No, they were just trading for more capital in this draft. Like, in hindsight, I was like looking at it. I was like, oh my gosh, they were just trading for more picks in this class. It's just kind of wild. So they get Ty Robinson, defensive line out of Nebraska. Very much a penetrator. Great straight line speed. If you're looking for someone to come in and get after the quarterback, he can do that. I like Mac McWilliams out of Central Florida. This is higher than where I had him on my board, though. I think he could work inside and out, and he's a perfect fit for Vic Fangio. Small Munden, linebacker out of Georgia. Kind of like okay, cool. It's a good depth pick. Maybe he plays some special teams. Drew Kendall, center out of Boston College. Still needs to continue to develop that play strength, but I believe the Eagles did not have a backup center, and now they have one that they could also develop. I low-key like the Kyle McCord pick. Call me crazy. Tanner McKee, he could be a free agent in another year or two. I think it's another 2 years. You could develop Kyle McCord as the backup quarterback, the heir apparent at backup quarterback. The dude's a gamer. I don't mind it. It's a 6th-round pick. Miles Hinton, I wasn't too high on. I had him at 281. But it's a pick at 191 if you like some of the tools, because he is big, he is long. Woof, I love talking about offensive line. But then they come back at 207 and they grab Cameron Williams, tackle out of Texas. I think medicals with the knee is what dropped him to the 6th, because I think at least his floor was 4th round just based on the tape, because he's got a lot of good tools, but there were peaks and there were valleys when it came to his play. But he's a one-year starter, so you kind of expect that. It's just someone that needs more time to develop. Probably should have came back to school, but I think something popped off with the knee that maybe got him red flagged, because he should not have been here. This is really good value. Antoine Powell Ryland, edge out of Virginia Tech, just lacks ideal length. Curious because he's going to be able to sustain against NFL physicality, but you're getting a really good DPR. Some people were really, really high on him. This was literally right about where I had him going. So I was kind of okay with it. I thought I was like, oh, this is good value. Other people, this is a steal. This is good value. Dude, how he kept trading back, acquiring picks, and getting players I like. I can't be mad at this draft. Like, even Makuba, I feel like I put out a fair argument, but I still really like the player. I'm going to give it an A-. Howie, I think, did Howie things. If I'm Eagles fans, I won't sweat this too much because I think they did a really, really good job. All right, let's talk about these freaking Giants. All right, you did the right thing. First off, big check mark, big A+. You sat at 3 and you took the best player on the board. In this case, it was Abdul Carter. In the process, you also gave Kayvon Thibodeau the 5th-year option, which means you're going to run through with a disgusting rotation of pass rushers. We all knew that they were going to move up for quarterback. Many people had it pegged that Brian Daboll likes Jaxson Dart. We knew moving up, if they move up, you're going to want to do it at the back end of the 1st round, just because the price tag won't be that much, but teams know you're moving up for quarterback. You're the Giants. So the price tag's going to be a little bit much. And it was a little bit, but it wasn't bad. They ended up trading pick 34 to get to pick 25. They gave up a 3rd this year and a 3rd next year. So it's not a terrible price tag when all things considered. You gain the 5th-year option on a guy like Jaxson Dart. Jaxson Dart was the lowest guy on my board taken in the 1st round. I get why the Giants did it. You inspire some hope to the future. I might not love it, but I also appreciate they didn't do this with pick 3. They just sat and picked at pick 3. Pick 65, Darius Alexander. This is about the range I had him going in. That defensive line feels crazy good. Watch out. They're getting after it. Cam Scatterboo, such a good 4th-round pick as well. I had him at 59 on my big board. I thought he could fall, but I knew if he made it to the 4th, he was going to last long. A very good complement to Tyrone Tracy, who brings a little bit more speed. He's got that pass catching upside as well. Scatterboo, he's got that pass catching upside as well, but he's a little bit more of the boom. I like those two as complements. Marcus Bowe, guard, could be a tackle out of Purdue, going to pick 154. I thought I was low on him. He was at what? 92 on my big board, because it felt like many people had him in top 75. Goes at 154. Makes me think was there some medicals we don't know about, or was it just, his game needs a lot of polish. We love the athleticism. We love the pop he plays with. Tired of seeing him on the ground every rep. Maybe it was a little more of that, but it's good value here. Thomas Fedone, I thought was a solid pickup, receiving tight end. You can get him in the mix there in 2-3 tight end sets at 219. And then Corey Black, who I thought was a 5th rounder. He's a perfect scheme fit. He's a press man corner. It's going to work for Shane Bowen. They got him at 246. This was a really good draft. Even if you consider, okay, they kind of had to go and get Jaxson Dart. Okay, fine. But it didn't sacrifice, it didn't come at the expense of the rest of their draft. Like Abdul Carter, really good pick. Darius Alexander, really good picks. Cam Scatterboo, really good pick. Marcus Bowe, really good value. Thomas Fedone, good value. Corey Black, good value. This was a really good draft, and I'm going to give it an A. When all things considered, I don't mind taking the shot on a quarterback. You didn't invest a ton. You get that 5th-year option, but you also got pieces that can help you stay competitive now. I know free agency was really bulk of that. That's bringing some guys that can make our team competitive next year. But you also did that via the draft with guys like Carter, Alexander, and Scatterboo. All right, we've finally come to the end of the line here. I got to record one more of these today, guys. Golly. But we're going to be talking about the Dallas Cowboys. As I had some mixed feelings about Tyler Booker. I guess not as the prospect. He was just lower down my board. He was much closer to the back end of the 1st round for me. The Cowboys, I'm very curious to see specifically what they're going to do with him. Is this just your right tackle or right guard replacement? Which sucks. I would love to see Brock Hoffman given a go. Or you kick Tyler Smith to tackle, Tyler Booker to left guard, and you move Tyler Guyton to right tackle, because we all know Terrence Steele feels washed. Ever since you gave him money, he hasn't been that good. I'm very intrigued. I don't love the value of the pick. It is what it is. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it if it gives you more versatility along the offensive line. Especially if your next 2 picks are Donovan Ezeraku and Savone Revel. Donovan Ezeraku, phenomenal value at 44. I'm kind of shocked he didn't go at the back end of the 1st or even early into the 2nd. They just had to stay put. They just sat back, arms back, sipping their coffee, just, oh, Donovan Ezeraku's still on the board. Sure, let's grab some extra pass rush, which you lose to Marcus Lawrence. That makes sense. Sam Williams, but he's been hurt. He's been on the outs with the coaching staff or the front office there. They did draft Marshawn Nealon last year, but he's coming off injury. They can make room for a guy like Donovan Ezeraku. They got to pay Micah Parsons too. I imagine they do. Savone Revel is nice. He's going to be, it sounds like he might start from the get-go because Trayvon Diggs might not be good to go week 1, but even then you could kick Deron Bland into the slot when Diggs does come back. I love Revel. I had him at 38 on my big board, so ends up being extraordinary value. I will say Jaden Blue's the one pick I don't like from this draft class. Like, I can wrap my head around Tyler Booker. Jaden Blue, cool, you got a receiving back. It's kind of like Deuce Vaughn. Sure, I mean, Blue might have more speed to it, but he's also has been a fumbling machine in college. Cool, he's fast. I don't know. I didn't love it. It was a 5th rounder, whatever. I love Shamar James. Matter of fact, I think they moved up. They traded up to go get Shamar James, a linebacker out of Florida. He wore the green dot for Florida. He was someone that was putting everybody in, making sure everyone is in the correct formation and assignment. And he is really fast on the field. You look at his zebra time at the Senior Bowl, and he was fast, the fastest among linebackers. He was right up there with some of the corners and wide receivers. Didn't necessarily test that fast at the combine, but I think that's okay. He's much faster on the field, and he's a young guy. He's 21. Very good pick. Ajani Cornelius, I didn't love the fit, or not necessarily the fit. I'm not a big fan of the pick. Look, sounds like he's going to be a guard. It's 6th round. You could take a shot. It's fine. It's pick 204. Just because I didn't love it doesn't mean I don't understand it. Some people liked Cornelius. He was just coming off a rough year. And then they grab a big, meaty run defender in Jay Toei out of UCLA. And I mean big. He's like 6'2", 342. So he brings a lot of size. Not much pass rush capabilities, and that's fine. They just want you to stop the run. Phil Maffa, he's a big running back. 239. I'm not mad at. Tommy Akin Besote. I tried. I didn't watch him. He's the other defensive tackle there from Maryland. I caught a little bit of him in passing, and he seemed pretty powerful. But to me, he's just a guy. Again, I didn't write an eval. It's 247. I'm not gonna go too into it. But they drafted some guys I liked in Jay, Shamar. I love the Revel. I think that's exceptional value. Sure, I may not have liked. I didn't like the Jaden Blue pick. For me, the Tyler Booker, you could have maybe gone somewhere more valuable. Like I really wish that this team came away with a wide receiver at some point. Oh, I guess you did. You grabbed Jaden Blue. I wish they grabbed some pass catchers. That's kind of what brings down the grade for me. I'm going to give them an A-, but all in all, a lot of these teams had really good drafts. I didn't really have too low of draft grades in hindsight of everything. I think I ended up having a few C's, but for the most part, we had a lot of B's, a lot of A's, because teams just drafted good players. Teams are drafting better year after year now. I remember coming out of the 1st round and being like, oh, wow. I don't disagree with any of the players taken in the 1st round. They all feel like 1st rounders to me. Even Jaxson Dart, you kind of get the situation. I didn't really question the players that went. I think NFL teams did a good job of taking guys that belonged and not reaching on players that they necessarily liked. I think teams did a good job working the board for most part. I mean, yeah, there were some hiccups here and there, but I don't think there was one team that exceptionally offended me with what they did. There was one, and I'll talk about it in the AFC video. You're going to have to stick around till later for that one. But thanks for the support. Another draft season in the books. Go ahead, hit that thumbs up on your way out. But as always, until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.